Hi, Chad. It's nice
Ma
to
ma
see you.
Yeah, great to see you
Welcome to
too.
the show, and thank you for your courage in doing this rather insane idea that I had to showcase some advisors in public. Um, all right. Well, let's start with you introducing yourself and telling us your story.
Yeah, of course, happy to. First off, thank you very much. Met you through Amplified Planning, and the work that you do for that. Your 12-hour marathon session, and then like giving back to people like me and the other aspiring financial planners. That's it's great. It's great. But my story is it started when I was young. A lot. I always enjoyed the financial stuff. My dad taught me from a young age through allowances, basic stuff like that. I kind of remember when I was at a festival with him. He gave me an allotment for the weekend. I spent it all within like the first like couple hours on some games, and he did not give me another dime. So the rest of the weekend, luckily I should say I had grandma and grandpa come in and give me a little bit of money. So I wasn't alone sitting there, but it was a very valuable financial lesson. You got to be careful with your money and whatnot. But moving on from there, I always had him kind of backing me up. So when I started my first job in high school at Walgreens, he told me to put money into a 401k. Said a little bit helps. So even as a minimum wage employee, I started up my 401k at the age of 17. Most people don't do that right away.
I did, that's for sure.
Right. And I went from there. He taught me how to do my first year tax return, W-2, fill in the blank, put in your wages withheld, very easy. But I'm like, why are people paying for tax returns? So that just was like reinforcing that. But then I'm like, oh, these get a little bit more complicated. I understand why people pay for them. While moving forward, I had this idea of, hey, I could do this. I could be a financial planner. And then the same person who taught me this stuff, my dad, kind of chased me away. He's like, all financial planners do is they sell insurance. And not to knock insurance planners because it is highly needed, but I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
I got chased away. I went into accounting instead, specifically internal audit. Got my bachelor's and master's in accounting. Was going to sit for the CPA, and then I learned I didn't need it as an internal auditor. I kind of a little bit of regret on that decision. Maybe someday I'll go back for it after the CFP. But I went through that. I was in public accounting at RSM for about 5 years, and that's when like I had a life event that kind of really pushed me towards this. So my father passed away in 2022, and he luckily it was sudden, it was unplanned. I was actually traveling for work, and I came back home. Luckily he had a will, he had everything in place, so I was able to focus on grieving, being emotionally available. But there were certain things that I noticed that didn't get properly put in place. The bank we used, where he had a lot of cash in it, they never transferred over as beneficiary. They were bought out twice. So I almost had to go through probate for money that I told them he had a beneficiary. So I'm like, okay, there's issues here. Like maybe he should check on this. But at the same time, there's these little things you don't think about in your day to day. And so that was kind of a kick in the pants for me. I was able to kind of work through that. I learned about the small state affidavit, pushed through that, didn't have to go through probate. And then not even a year later, I took some time off work, was ready to go back to RSM, and my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So in a 2-year period, I lost both my parents, but one was sudden and my mom was a little bit more prolonged, still very quick, about 5 months.
Wow.
And so it was, luckily I had what my dad left me. I was able to take off work again. And I realized not everybody has that opportunity. Like, what would I have done if I had to work, if I had to take care of my mom, and everything else in between? So I saw like what I had known all along, like how valuable planning is, whether the investments, the estate, insurance, everything in between. So luckily I was able to be there for my mom, be emotionally and physically present to help her through that journey. My wife as gracious as she was, we were going to get married December that year. We pushed up our wedding and ended up planning a whole wedding in a month just so my mom could be there. And it was amazing. And got to have my first dance and with her, or the mother son dance with her, and that's the stuff that's important. Is
Oh, yeah.
being there for family, not and the financial stuff helps support that. But like I said, not everybody has that. So
Mm.
over the years, I knew this is something I was highly interested in. I've read articles, I listened to podcasts, and I knew it was about time to make that jump. But after dealing with my mom, I got an offer from a coworker, went back into the internal audit world. I'm like, after spending all my years in college doing that, I couldn't just give it up right away. I
Sure.
realized it wasn't for me. Another year of it, I'm good at it. I can do it, but it wasn't my passion. I knew I wanted to help people, help individuals achieve, their goals, realize their values and live them. And so I at the end of 20 or early 2025, I dove into the deep end of the pool, if you will. I put in my notes at the end of 2024 that I'd work a couple more months, get us through the busy season at my company, not leave my manager high and dry. And then I took the dive. I started taking classes at DePaul University here in Illinois for the financial planning certificate. Um,
Hmm.
I joined FPA of Illinois, their mentorship program, which has been great. My mentor, he has brought me on as a part-time paraplanner, so I started getting that real world
Oh,
experience.
great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so call out to Greg Kernick at Pen and Planning, but like just everybody else, him, you, like everybody in the industry is just so gracious with their time. And that's what I love. He's introduced me to other people that have shared with me how their firms work. And from them, I just keep forming those connections, which has been amazing. But which kind of pushed me towards going to 3 conferences last year. I went to the FPA National, I went to the CFP Board annual conference, and I went to FPA Illinois Conference for Advanced Planning. So, and the learning's great, but meeting the people, connecting and learning from them, learning from the people who have experience has been amazing. So I just keep trying to push and do more. Right now, I'm working towards my enrolled age, and I've passed parts 1 and 3. I'm taking part 2 up this upcoming Monday, so hopefully I'll be an enrolled agent very soon here. And CFP, I'm taking that in July. I finished my capstone course here in March at DePaul, and I'll take that, and then working towards experience hours, amplified planning, and FPA residency, measure twice planners. I mean, anybody who has experience hours, and through the work as a paraplanner. So I'm just trying to build up that experience and look for my full time opportunity into the industry because I'm ready to help people and I'm excited to help people like realize and make sure that they don't fall into any of these, things that are unintentional. Like, right, we just go about our daily lives. I don't want people to suffer because of like little things we can fix and to make them financially in a better position.
Amazing story and very touching. Thank you for sharing that. I know sometimes that's hard to share. My story has its share of tragedy, especially around my
Mhm.
father, and you know, a lot of parallels there. I think.
Mhm.
Um, as you are looking for positions, obviously remote is fine. I assume for just about anyone if you need to. But if you had to work in person at a firm, what does your geography look like, and are you open to relocation?
So I am not open to relocation. I currently live in Naperville, Illinois, so south suburbs of Chicago, and family is of the utmost importance to my wife and I. Her parents live in an hour away. My aunt and uncle and a lot of my family is an hour away. So being in the Illinois area, whether working in person, which I love to do, meeting people in person, or
Sure.
remote as well, is great.
All right. So about an hour or two out of Naperville could work for you. I don't know how close that is to Chicago or Rock.
Chicago's about an hour. I mean, preferably, I've done the commute. I would prefer something more in the suburbs, but I'm not
Sure, sure.
opposed to something in Chicago as well.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Good to know. So if you're watching, now you know. Let's talk about your let's see. Let's talk about your ambitions. What do you want? What do you want out of this? How fast do you want to go? you a hard charger, like I'm gonna crush this immediately, or are you like, look, I just want to go to a place where I can learn slowly and really incorporate it? And like, what's your typical pace?
Yeah, I want to move fast and hard. I want to be able to help people. So, my wife, she sometimes gets on my back because I'm probably putting in, uh, 10 plus hours a day, just like between studying for CFP, classes, working with my mentor, everything else. But it doesn't feel like work to me. I love it. I get energized by it. And so, if I have to start like with my current mentor work, as a paraplanner, as starting and learning the basics, I'm fine with that. But I don't want it to be long term because I know I can learn this stuff quick and I can move up. I ultimately want to help people. I like meeting with people. I did that in my old role at RSM and Topco, where I was an internal auditor. I worked with C suite employees, directors, managers, everybody down to the accountants and everybody in between. So I've worked on high level processes like how do we do a supply chain audit, an enterprise risk assessment. So these big complex ideas, we take them, we review them, and so I'm very comfortable just learning on the fly, growing quickly, and helping people. So that's ultimately what I want. If it's a role where I'm going to be an associate planner for 2 years and then move up because it's on a defined timeline, it's probably not the right role for me.
Right. You want some freedom to go as fast as you're capable of going because you think you can crush it and move very quickly.
Right. And with the knowledge, knowing that I don't know everything. So if I'm not picking up right away, I'm willing to,
Yeah.
I obviously don't want to move up right away. I want to learn it.
Yeah.
I want to do it right, but as fast
Of
as I
course.
possibly
Don't hold
can.
you back. I like that energy. That's I prefer to work personally. My most success was working with people who I would have had to hold them back, and they're just running full speed, and I'm like, whoa, wait up, in which it's hard to outpace me. I'm very fast. And I'm about as fast start as you can get. So if you get ahead of me, then I'm looking ahead going, whoa, you're fast for realsies. I'm also like 6'3". So when I see someone taller than me, I'm like, okay, that's crazy. I'm used to being the tallest person in the room. That's great. So you mentioned you're getting your EA. How much tax interest do you have? Because there's a lot of great tax opportunities out there too. Not necessarily just behind the screen, like being a tax monkey, but really out there to be a tax focused advisor as opposed to a generalist financial planner. Like how much interest in there is it for you, given that opportunity?
Yeah, definitely. It's of the utmost importance. I think tax touches every part of the financial plan, and that's why I'm starting with the EA. That plus, I can't put CFP after my name yet, so it'll be nice
Mhm.
to have a
Okay.
couple letters. But it's very important. I grew up with taxes. I did my own, and I've handled some stuff, which I would say, looking back now and going through the A, it's not the most complex. But after my father passed away, my mom lived in the house for while she was alive, and then now I'm renting it out. So I've dealt with rental income. I dealt with an NUA from like money that my dad had in his 401k. So I handled all this. I did a donor advised fund, and so these ideas like how can we help people be the most efficient with their money. I love that, and I think tax is one of those great opportunities where you can move things around in such a way that it helps people the most, right? I mean, investments, yeah, they can grow, but like you have your averages, you're probably going to be in a certain range. But to save somebody, 1,000 in taxes, 10,000, 100,000, depending on your income or more, I mean, there's real opportunity there. So
Mm,
I do want that to be a big part of what I do. And
yeah,
I
I
should
love
say
that.
not to prepare tax returns because I feel that's backwards looking. I want to be proactively looking, at the data and how can we plan for the future.
Right. Or maybe if you're preparing tax returns, you're doing it like a wealth management firm does, where you're doing some,
Mhm.
but it's not a busy season kind of tax firm kind of volume. But if you're
Exactly.
working with very wealthy families, and you have 20 tax returns a year, that's a whole different kind of game that can be, as you mentioned, it's the easiest way to show value immediately. Everything else we do as financial planners tends to take some time. All right. You might
Mhm.
save some fees really quickly. You might be able to help them budget better and save a little faster. But you really want to create some value right away, save them a couple percentage points on their tax bill. And that's an easy one to point to and say, look how smart I am. It's always a good place to focus. It's amazing how many financial planners just don't even really focus on the tax return. They don't necessarily review it every year. It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
Not the good ones, but definitely if you're a financial planner and you hear that and you're like, I don't review the tax return every year, then I'm calling you out right now. You got to get on
Yeah, run
that.
away. Even if you're not the best at it, get Holista plan or do something, have the system do it for you and understand it.
Or just get good. You know what I mean?
Or just
Study.
get
It's
good.
it's
Yeah.
I think it's a really important aspect of financial planning. I agree with you.
Mhm.
So who are your, as you think about, if you're looking at different firms and aligning yourself to different firms, and you see firms with different niches out there that talk to different kinds of people, what's yours? Like, what's your ideal client look like? Obviously you're going to work with the people you work with, and you may not even know, like, I'm not asking you to like pick a niche, but like, who are those people that, like, when you work with them, it's like, okay, these are my people. These are the people that I definitely work with. Mine ended up being, surprisingly, I never thought this would be true, but it was old widows and like Burning Man inheritors. Those were my people. And people would ask me like, what's the common thread there? I'm like, oh, well, none of them ask me to justify my advice. They don't want to look at the details, and they just do anything I tell them to do without asking for backup and reasons. I don't have to prove anything with them. So really, I'm just bossy, and so I want people who just listen to me and just do whatever I say. And that's the two communities that seem to fit that. But so for you, what's your ideal client look like?
Yeah, if I had to pick right now, I've been working with a lot of retirees. That's what my mentor works with, and they're great. But I think I would love to work with accountants. I came from that field, and I like to nerd out. So I feel like a lot of the people I worked with, that we got into the weeds. We looked into the details that underlie every decision that's being made, and so there are people who want to understand the whys. And to have somebody like that who I can sit there and nerd out with and be like, instead of saying, "Hey, you're getting too deep into the weeds," I think that's really cool.
Like, let
But
me
I
know
also
if you
want to
need
work with people
great.
that are right in my age group and, in the 30s, 40s. The sandwich generation, because I see it. Like, both of my parents have passed, but what my wife and I are working towards starting a family. So what if we had a kid at the time my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and we were taking care of a kid and we were taking care of her and dealing with work and everything else in between? How would that have looked? And I understand there's a lot of people who do that. And so being able, I want to help the sandwich generation, the people who are ambitious and working up, but they might have, three generations, themselves, a kid, and their parents to help out maybe in the future.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And I think there's a lot of planning opportunities there, from the estate planning, the tax planning, insurance, everything that, a financial planner does, that would touch all of it. And I think it'd be real cool to do that multi-generational planning, where instead of just having your client being, hey, here's person A, let's have them in with their parents and with their kids if they're old enough, to get the whole family together and learn. Because the, ultimately, at the end of the day, I think a lot of money is lost from miscommunication or no communication.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. So you and I are kind of the opposite in terms of our what we like to do. You want to find people who really want to challenge you and really want to hear every detail, where you can, like you said, nerd out with those people. That's super fun.
Yeah.
And so accountants, I imagine, also in addition to that, probably engineers are a good fit
Mhm.
for you. Just all those people who are very technical in nature, and kind of already know the technical answer to a lot of this stuff, and you're just helping guide them through the options as opposed to explain like what insurance is. You want people who kind of know what it is and are like, but which one should I have? Like, there's so many options I don't know.
Mhm.
That's great.
Yeah, and I do think some of the advice only is really cool. Like, I know where, hey, you know how to do this yourself. If I tell you what to do, you can implement it. You're not, you're very technically smart. You like to dig into the weeds. And if people do want me to manage their stuff, I'm open to that. But like, just to have that like high level or that in the weeds conversation and, get really nerdy. I think is so cool.
So any other areas of your history, like your professional history that are particularly relevant? I mean, you talked a lot about it, but I just want to make sure you have a chance to highlight anything else from your past that really leads you that either led you into this career or it's just something that you would want someone to know if they were considering you for a position.
Yeah. So I love both the big picture and diving into the weeds. That's a lot of what I did in internal audit. So I talk about the enterprise risk assessment as an example. One of the things we did is we met with everybody from C suite employees to directors and managers and to understand, hey, what are the risks that you see? Well, a manager might see risks that are only related to their department, where C suite sees, the broader risk. And we took over 40 interviews between my manager and I over a couple months period, and we learned from them and we dug into the weeds, like what is it that's really important to you, and then we married that all up to give a very good product to management and say, hey, these are the areas that we have opportunity to improve on, opportunity to, make better, or where any big risks lie, things that we should fix right now. I think internal audit is very similar to financial planning, except your client a is a business unit instead of a person, right? We're looking at their risks, we're learning, what their goals are, like how do you want to produce more widgets, or do you want to hire more people? How can we do that? A lot of people think of internal audit, and I should say that some internal audit is just checking the box, it's backwards
Yeah,
looking,
sure.
did you do everything right? But a good internal audit team, which are the teams I've worked on, are the ones who say, hey, let's not just check the box and make sure you did everything right, but let's strategically plan for the future. And so that's something that I really love doing. And I didn't like doing it for a corporation anymore. Like I want to see like the value I provide to everyday people, to you, to Joe Smith on the street, how can I help you learn? How can I help you achieve your values and grow? Because at the end of the day, people are important. Industry is important too. It gives us our jobs, it gives us the money, but people are what's important.
No, amazing. Um, So we've talked a little bit about it, but I just want to have you highlight kind of what are as you think about all the topic areas of financial planning, all the technical areas, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
What are the areas that really are you feel like are like your thing? You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, this is my thing. Like, could be tax or whatever else. And what are the ones that you're like, I'd rather phone a friend than do that work. You know what I mean? So if you're in an organization, you're on a team, you're like, hey, can you handle this stuff while I handle this stuff? Like, what's on both of those lists?
Yeah, so obviously the taxes, we've dove pretty deep into that. I mean, if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could do that, all day, every day. I think the estate plan is really cool. I touched on
yeah.
that a little bit with my parents. So part of what happened, and I guess I left this out, my grandma passed away in 2020 as well. So 2 years before my father, and she had an estate plan in place. And everything went very smooth for her, which was beautiful. My dad, he didn't put his estate plan in place until 2021, about a year before he passed away, because he
Wow.
realized, like, hey, I just don't know what's going to happen in the future. Where would I have been without an estate plan? Going through probate, probably still, who knows? And so I think that's a big thing that a lot of people miss. And I see it all the time. Like, hey, why isn't your house in a trust? That's a simple thing we could do, go on Encore Estates or willandtrust.com or one of these, a couple $100, let's throw that in there, make it simple for you, for your heirs, the people you love. Point together will, like, or point together, guardianship. You have young kids, right? You want to make sure the people you care about most are taken care of. So estate planning is very important to me as well as taxes. And then just general retirement, like how do we get you started in a 401k, IRAs, whatever it is, start building towards the future. Enjoy today. Figure out your values. Like, do you like going on vacations? Do you like going to your cabin in the woods or volunteering? Maybe you only find a way to so you can only work 28 hours a year or a week and like give back. What is important of a value to you? Those are the areas I really like. The things I don't like, as I kind of mentioned earlier, and I would give to somebody else, that are still very highly important, is the insurance and annuities. I understand they have their place, they have their value. It's not the area, and I think they're a big part of a financial plan, but it's not what I prefer to focus on. I would much rather farm those out to somebody else. And same with the investments. I think investing is cool, but picking a portfolio of, hey, do we put some money in US stocks versus foreign versus a little bit of alternatives, bonds, all that's important. But computers do that nowadays too, right? I mean, we can get a passive portfolio and put it in there, reallocate yearly, quarterly, whatever need be, but it doesn't need to be complicated.
I love that. Yeah, the investment part was never my passion either. I'm like, just tell me what I'm supposed to say, and then I'll just go say that. And that's fine. I can leave it alone. So, dream firms. Do you have some firms out there that are like, if they gave you an offer, you're like, oh, please let me work for you?
Yeah. So anybody who's willing to let me learn and grow, kind of like we talked about earlier, but
Yeah, yeah, we're all open to everything, but who are
we're
your
all over with
favorites? You
everything.
know?
But I would there is a firm in Naperville. I've been talking to them. If they're listening, I'll even shoot this to them later. Model Wealth. Randy runs, Alex Offerman. Like I met with them, and they do like hourly based financial planning, and it's more at the people getting close to retirement or in the retirement level, but they've been great with their time. I know they're very busy and they're looking to grow. And I just like the model they have. Obviously, right? You don't know everything until you know everything. But if they had an offer, I would probably accept it. Probably, um, but anybody who is an RIA, I don't envision myself as much in the broker dealer world. Like, I think it would be a stepping stone, honestly, to learn and grow. So, if anybody's listening there, but I, once again, I don't know what I don't know. I could take something like that, learn, I love it, because at the end of the day, I do like working with people. So, big groups, people I can bounce ideas off of. And when I don't know something, they're right there. And having big teams can sometimes be conducive to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have lots of friends who are broker dealers, and they're fantastic.
Mhm.
I think the broker dealers get a bad rap because there's a lot of people there who aren't great.
Mhm.
My highest ranking LinkedIn post was me trash live posting on a conversation that was sitting next to me in a blue bottle coffee bar, and because it was hilarious what this guy was saying, I'm like, oh my god, I almost intervened. I'm like, okay, I'm like, but then I just wanted to enjoy my coffee and go home. But yeah, it's crazy over there sometimes, but there are plenty of great advisors at broker dealers for sure.
Mhm.
So anything else we need to know? Tell us, like we have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that you have a chance to lay out everything you would want a potential employer or anyone else in the world to know about you and some of those things. And you can include in there, which I didn't ask you yet, but kind of hobbies, things outside of work that make you interesting.
Yeah. So I'd say we'll start with the hobbies. I think that's the fun part, right? You got to love the people you work with. And one of my favorite things to do is karaoke. When I was 2009, I was in the Dominican Republic. First time I ever had the courage to do it. And my aunt and uncle had always been big in karaoke, and they kind of introduced me. I was very shy, very timid with the microphone first time. Had to have a couple cocktails. Now I can do it any day, anywhere. Just be out on the street, start singing. So I
Oh
think
man, you're
karaoke
so
is one of
lucky
those.
we don't have much time left because I'd be blasting the music right now.
Right? Fair. I don't say I have the greatest voice, so maybe we save people some trouble, but I do love to sing. So,
I love it.
and I think it's a great way to, it's a de-stressor. It's a great way to get yourself out there. If you're ever a little nervous, you start learning, hey, everybody's just there having a cocktail, having a good time. I've heard some of the, what I would say subjectively would be some of the worst singers in the world. I still cheer for them. I love them. And, but they get up there. Everybody, so many people are so shy. And I love that. It's the confidence. It's amazing. So karaoke is a big one. Outside of that, traveling. My wife and I, we went to New Zealand, Australia for our honeymoon. We've been I went to Germany on when my wife had a work trip over there. We were recently in Thailand for a friend's wedding and stopped in Japan on the way back. So we love traveling. This year, I think we're talking about an Alaskan cruise with her parents. So we love going everywhere, which is amazing. And then I just love tinkering around the house, woodworking. I built a bench at our old house and then we moved. So I'm a little sore that I lost all the hard work I put in there. We literally moved a couple months after I built it, really. Was not planned at the
Same.
time,
Yeah.
but
Bummer.
it gives me a chance to build more now.
Yeah.
um, so those are some of my passions. But as far as like I finance, other things people should know is I am a go-getter. I kind of mentioned that earlier. I live and breathe this stuff. My wife sometimes gets a little sick of me talking, and I got to be careful about that. I got, respect that she does not value.
Save Chad's marriage. Hire him so he has someone else to talk to about financial planning. Let's go.
That's exactly what she says. She loves it when I go to these like little social events, and she's like, "You can talk to somebody else, so you don't talk to me." And then I get home and I talk to her about all the stuff we talked
All the
about.
stuff you talked about. Oh no.
Yeah. So it just energizes me so much. But so who knows if I'll talk to her more or less when I'm working, but at least I'll be out of the house a little bit more often.
Oh no. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on to our inaugural Prospective Advisor Showcase or Aspirant, whatever we called it. So thank you for being here. I know it's a little like karaoke, right? It's like a little nerve wracking, but you know it's going to be good for you, and
Mhm.
you know it'll be fun at the end of the day. Even though doing a job interview in front of the entire internet is not always the easiest thing. I totally understand. Um, so
It was
thank
great.
you. I really appreciate it. Any last words?
Just thank you very much, JD, for what you do, and for everybody listening and who's considering career changers, especially. I'll do a quick shameless plug. FPA has a brand new career changer subcommittee, and so we're brand new. We're working out the kinks, figuring out what we're going to do. But I think what career changers can be a big asset to any firm, right? And students as well. But like we come with a lot of experience. We're older. We've lived a little bit more life, and I think we can dive right in. So thank you all for listening and considering career changers in general.
All right. Thank you, Chad, so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.